Bad Life Podcast! You're listening to the Bad Life Podcast, your number one guide on how to run a profitable band. Here are your hosts, Pete Stannard and Adam West, the Wizard of Rock!
We are the champions.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck me, like, get a life.
Did you hear about Queen? Do you think they've sold out?
What with it?
Or did you not hear
No,
this?
I haven't heard this, no.
They've sold their entire catalogue to Sony. $1.25 billion they sold it for.
Ah, see, money.
Money.
Don't think Freddie Mercury would have been happy with that.
Possibly. I don't know. It depends on his cut.
You're that piss poor
suppose.
broke that you got to sell all the music you worked really hard for. But it's like, well, I'm a successful musician. So, okay, yeah, and you're like, well, I had to sell it, stay current and alive. You're like, right, okay, you could survive, like if you on very, very little, if you only like really looked at it and thought, what do I need to survive on? Actually, not a lot. But because I'm piss poor broke and I can't keep my million cars fuel injected and priced up, I got to sell my back catalogue. We all work really, really hard for, put our blood, sweat and tears into Sony, and Sony are like, we are the champions, fuck you. That's sad. That is sad.
It is. It's a fact of life. I suppose it's one of those things. It's like the famous story of Paul McCartney gave advice to Michael Jackson and said what he should do is get into publishing and buy other people's music.
And he bought the Liz.
So
the Beatles.
Michael Jackson went out and bought the Beatles stuff.
See, no one got rights to my music. I tell you, I don't care if I'm little or big. I'd be like, I don't care how much you're gonna be throwing at me. My shit ain't for sale. I don't care if you're the fucking Queen, the King of England. I don't care how much money you got. It ain't for sale. Piss off.
It's not for you, yeah. But Paul McCartney is actually quite gracious about it. To be honest. He said it was up for sale, so he bought it.
That's because he's not really Paul McCartney. Haven't you seen the conspiracy video? It's not him. Why should he give a shit?
His AI.
It's not even AI.
He's an AI.
Paul
He's a robot.
McCartney died years and years ago, and everybody's talking about it. They're like, yeah, he's not the real one. They're like, okay, so what happened? It's like, well, the Beatles were set to do really, really well from the Tavistock Institution, groomed and programmed. Unfortunately, the real Paul McCartney had an accident and died, so they had to get somebody in double quick because this band was going to take off. So they looked for some doubles. They got him in. Luckily, he could play, and off you go. I'm like, wow, that's a conspiracy and a half, that one, isn't it? So if he's not the real...
So what, this was before they were big?
Just as they were on the sort of like the possibility of this band could go somewhere. The original Paul McCartney had a car crash. He died. So they were like, look, there's loads of doubles and doppelgangers out there for sure. There's bound to be one that looks and plays like him. And there was. The guy who's here now as the current Paul McCartney. And so they got him. Right. So from a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist idea, right? If this was true, right, he'd be quite easily blasé going, yeah, sure, you can buy the music, whatever. It's like, what should I give a shit? I'm not the real Paul McCartney. Like, everybody else is dead, like, So along comes Michael Jackson, goes, cool, I'll buy it for X amount of money. And he goes, cool, a few billion in my pocket. I'll carry on being the Paul McCartney.
Being Paul McCartney. He's left-handed, says that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, apparently.
It's a bizarre conspiracy, that one. Because I'm sure, because Paul McCartney and John Lennon obviously wrote a lot of songs. I mean, George Harrison obviously did some. But if you've got someone else new in,
they all knew about it.
The material going forward would be influenced by that, wouldn't it? So that person is only being recompensed for
Such a,
for what they've worked for anyway. It's bizarre.
Haven't you noticed why a lot of people have always said the not Paul McCartney, so John Lennon's songwriting material was a lot better than Paul's, which you would probably have to agree a little bit, even though it's still the basic 4 chords progression stuff. I just think there was a lot more substance maybe to John Lennon's, and so it would lend a lot of credence to the whole Paul McCartney conspiracy, if you like, and that, yeah, if it wasn't the real Paul McCartney and just somebody else, and they all knew about it, it's like, yeah, because they never got on, did they? The two of them. That's why they went their separate ways.
Yeah, there was obviously some conflict in the Beatles over time. But I mean, if you look at a song like "Here Comes the Sun," something like that, that's actually quite a complex song. And Blackbird, they are quite. They're not sort of your standard kind of 4 chords running through a progression. There's different arpeggiated shapes and diminished notes in there and things like that they used. So some of it is actually quite complex. I mean, obviously they had their sort of "Love Me Do's" and that sort of thing, which is a bit more simplistic. But a lot, especially if you go into like the Sgt. Pepper's stuff, they were a lot more experimental at that point, and sort of Rubber Soul and the White Album.
But they went and had
a lot more complex.
They went and had support and help from the gurus and the Hindu sort of prophets, weren't they? And they went there, and I think
and they used those influences. Lots of influences from Indian music and things. Like you started using sitars and things, but that was more from George Harrison, I think. He was banging to all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of influence came into their music as a progression, I suppose. That was the people that they were around, and you write what you know at the end of the day, and that's what they knew at that moment in time. Who knows? Who knows these conspiracy theories?
It's interesting, nevertheless.
Bad Life Podcast!